they're playing a different brand of football than all the other supposed contenders in the Big Ten. And I say that just because we just started league play with a few meaningful games in the league. So we're going to figure out here in the next few weeks who truly is a contender in the Big Ten. But right now, it looks like that upper crust, either below or with Ohio State, is pretty thick. My goodness. Iowa, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan State. We're not even talking about Maryland at 3-0, and Indiana, even though they've lost 2 games, showed that they're pretty capable against Cincinnati. So this could be a fun free-for-all if Ohio State doesn't get their act together and maintain its position of superiority. But Ohio State's doing it in a much different fashion than everybody else. All the teams that I just mentioned, the 2 from the West and everybody from the East, is running the ball down people's throats and playing pretty superior defense. And it's going to be pretty fascinating, Tony, to see this Big Ten race if Ohio State, again, doesn't separate itself.
It's like a dream matchup of a bunch of teams that run trestle ball versus Ryan Day ball. And we'll see who is superior when they all get together. And it's unfortunate that Ohio State is playing defense as poorly as they are, because you wonder how well they will be able to stop the run. They did it better against Tulsa, but you look at Michigan's running game right now. To me, it's legit. It's leading the nation in rushing. I don't expect that to stay, but if they finish in the top 30, top 25, that's really, really good for them. And it's not something they've been able to do since the Rich Rod years. So I think there's something there. But by the time Ohio State plays them, the defense should be more equipped to handle whatever. And at that point, we'll see how things have gone for Michigan and whether they still are as enlightened right now as they are. But I don't think Ohio State's in a position right now to overlook anybody when that pass defense is what it is. And then each time they fix something, you fix the pass defense. Now there's a leak in the rush defense, and then you do that, and it's like they only have one cork for the 2 holes in the boat, and they try to maybe cover one of the holes with their hand, and it doesn't do enough. And so they've got obviously some work to do, and some opponents that, while they aren't necessarily dynamic, they are sound and they play solid defense that could give Ohio State some trouble a couple of times this year, maybe a few.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the race ends up looking like, because the uneven nature of scheduling, and that's not me singling anybody out. I mean, Michigan played Washington, and for so many years, Ohio State's gotten dinged because they set up a series with somebody, and then they don't end up being nearly as good as we expected. I think a lot of people expected more out of Washington this year, and they were summarily thumped in that game. But, we'll get a better idea even as soon as this week to see what they're made of and what that ends up looking like. And I think a lot of people are really high on Iowa. I don't know if there's enough consistency at the quarterback position there. As Steve likes to say with Wisconsin, with their coach Paul Blart, we'll see what comes there. I don't think Graham Mertz has necessarily been the guy, but then again, that's coming off the heels of that guy, Jack Cohn. So I don't want to get into that one too much, but I think it's going to be an interesting race. And I think if you look at the Big Ten East in general, the Big Ten East is pretty stacked at this point. But as teams start playing each other, it's a zero-sum game. Somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. And I think you're going to see teams coming back down to earth because of it, because you're not playing, you're not playing the Akrons of the world.
I'll just throw in a couple of thoughts there, and it is a big game, I think, for Wisconsin this week with Graham Mertz going against Jack Cohn, the former Wisconsin quarterback, playing for Notre Dame. Notre Dame's defense has been kind of substandard. Wisconsin's just kind of been meh so far in the games it's played. So that'll be interesting. I don't know who I'm going to pick in that game, but I might pick Wisconsin, but I don't know. It's on a neutral field there at Soldier Field in Chicago. Probably fans will be split pretty much down the middle, I would think, or maybe 60-40 for Notre Dame. In terms of Ohio State, the one area that is most troubling to me is third down defense. And I just looked it up. I scrolled down from 1 to 50, and I knew they weren't going to be in the first 50. Then I scrolled down 51 to 100, and I was like, damn, they're not even in the top 100. No, not only not in the top 100, they are 126 out of 130 schools in third down defense. They are allowing opponents to convert on third down 53% of the time. And that's unheard of at Ohio State. Typically, that number's like 20% or 25% or something like that. I think Tulsa last week was something like 8 of 17 or 9 of 17. And they had one was a 3rd and 12. And you're like, okay, they're finally going to get off the field. Nope. The kid threw a little pass out into the right flat, and the running back or whoever took it and he got just, if we could see that yellow line watching it live, you'd see him just fall right over the yellow line for a 13-yard gain. And it's first down, Tulsa. And it's just like, you can't beat teams when you allow them to sustain drives like that. And, Tulsa wasn't good enough in the red zone. Yeah, 9 of 17, I think Kevin just pointed out. Tulsa, in my opinion, really messed up. It was 4th and 1 at the 3-yard line, and they kicked a field goal. And I don't know what Philip Montgomery was thinking. It was like you came all that way. You took that check for $1.3 million, whatever it was. It was like, dude, they let you all the way down to the 3-yard line. You don't even have to score. Just get to the 2, and it's a first down. If you don't get it, you're leaving them the ball on the 3-yard line. I mean, it was the first quarter. What did they have to lose? As it turns out, in the fourth quarter, it's a 27-20 game. Boy, he wishes he would have had those 4 points back, I'm sure. So, Ohio State's got a lot of problems, but I think somebody on third down has got to start making some plays. And I made a comment in my chat. I think my chat was 2 nights ago, Monday night. Somebody was asking about the defense. I said, look at this defense. You only had 2 guys who'd ever started or been mainstays on the defense prior to the season that started this week with Harrison and Proctor out. And that was Haskell Garrett, who's done literally nothing this year other than return that fumble against Minnesota, and Tyreek Smith, who has done literally nothing this year for the most part. And I said, stop and comprehend this and think about how good Ohio State's been by and large for the last 30 years, even maybe more than that on defense. There is nobody, and I mean nobody, suiting up on this defense currently with the way they've played in the first 3 games who would have started on any defense at Ohio State at any point in the last 30 years. That's how bad it's been. Now, has Denzel Burke played great? Yes. But, I still stand by that comment. He's probably the 3rd corner on a lot of teams. Haskell Garrett was great last year. He started last year. He wouldn't start last year if he played like this last year. So, they got some major issues, and it's not just one. It's not just the front. It's not just the linebackers. It's not just the secondary. They need to start triggering and making plays on all 3 levels on defense, or the beatings will continue. And that's, Rutgers could beat them. Maryland could beat them with Tago Gavailoa if he got hot somehow. I mean, we saw it 3 years ago, 52-51, the Haskins game out there. Maryland played them right down to the nub. Rutgers has never played Ohio State close, but lo and behold, the game's at Rutgers. This could be the year. So if they get a crucial turnover or whatever, maybe that's a 4th quarter game. Don't want to say that. Don't want to see that. But they've got a lot of problem. I mean, they demoted Kerry Combs and had somebody else call the defense, and it wasn't a panacea. They gave up 500 yards to Tulsa, who didn't even get 400 yards against Cal Davis in a game that was played in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, stop and comprehend that. They gave up 500 yards to Tulsa that didn't even get 400 yards against Cal Davis. I mean, that'll tell you where your defense is right now. Kerry Combs had to be sitting up there in the box just with his arms folded about the 3rd quarter saying, see, I told you. It ain't this easy, guys. And, this defensive front's getting nothing done, and that's where it all begins to me.
And I got to think that 3rd down defensive statistic is also a byproduct of not making any negative plays or stops on 1st and 2nd down that have set up shorter down and distance on 3rd down.
Yep.
Yeah. It has not been good through 3 games. But it has been good for an hour plus with Kevin Noon from Buckeye Scoop, Steve Hellwagon from Bucknuts 247 Sports. We appreciate them. And of course, Tony Gerdeman from Buckeye Scoop as well. Check out everything that they've got available. Kevin, we'll start with you in regards to where can people find you?
Yeah, exactly. You can find me at BuckeyeScoop.com, and you can find me on Twitter at Kevin_Noon. I've taken a couple weeks off from my own personal YouTube channel, but hope to be launching that back up here this next week. But we will kind of see. If Ohio State doesn't look very good against Akron, that may slow me down for another week.
All right, Steve.
Nothing big cooking right now, just bucknuts.com, covering Ohio State football, and basketball is going to be firing up. We're having a media day next week with that. So the vacation is over. It's time to start covering 2 sports at once. And I look for them to bounce back and play pretty well this week. Akron actually has done some nice things offensively. Their quarterback, against Bryant, and again, it's Bryant, was 26 of 30, but how much better is Ohio State's defense than Bryant's? I don't know. I mean that as a joke, of course, but I guess we'll see if this guy can do it. As I was typing up their lineup, they have like 7 freshmen who start on offense for Akron. The quarterback is a sophomore. And all but one guy is in his first or second year of eligibility. They have 1 junior and no seniors starting on the offense. So their coach, Tom Arth, is a guy who played at Cleveland St. Ignatius. He would have been there around the time Anthony Gonzalez was there, late 1990s, early 2000s, and went to John Carroll, was the head coach at John Carroll, then was the head coach at Chattanooga, and then got the career break of a lifetime to go coach at Akron, where he's 2-19 in his 3rd season, and one of those wins was last week over FCS Bryant. So he's having a rough go of it there at University of Akron.
Yes, the all-time winning percentage there at Akron, and then if you want to throw in Kent to represent the Akron area, has to be amongst the lowest in the history of college football.